This is really hard to do through the camera.
Alright, well, welcome back to another episode of Inspired Content, and this is the first in a new category of content that I'll be looking at. I'm kind of exploring the possibility of looking into some of the video games that I remember playing when I was younger, so some of this is going to be retro. I might play some newer games as time goes by. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with the format of finding new story and gameplay technique ideas. I imagine I might do something similar to how I do board games, but sometimes I may just do it as playthroughs and some fun with that stuff. But to start with, it's a little tongue-in-cheek to go at it, but I'm gonna show you this. This is something I remember playing, it feels like forever ago. Looks like it came out in 1989. Believe it or not, I do think there's some potential in this type of gameplay now, too. Alright, I'll see you on the other side.
Okay. Wow, that was super useful. See, as we got over level 100 points, it turned on the lower level, which is so we now go to the under layers. Dang it! Well, as you can see, the goal is to get to April O'Neil, but in order to do that, you have to get the key she's locked up with, but in order to get underneath, you have to get 100 points from beating the things up here, get past the spinning blades, get past the electroshock bar, get the key, get all the way back, get back up top, make it through the running monsters, and then unlock April O'Neil. I'm not imagining I'll be able to do that on this camera, but that's the basic idea.
Alright, so for the Ninja Turtle game. The game itself, I'm going to have to give a 3.7 out of a 4.9. It's very simple, not all that interesting, and very repetitive. It's got a few neat little gimmicks that you can do to play with this. It gives you a couple options of how the character moves. And it's sort of like playing a game like Flappy Birds, which, quite frankly, it loses its amusement factor for me. But, I mean, these are essentially the apps that existed before apps on phones existed, because phones weren't up to doing this kind of stuff yet. But, these types of games, it's tempting to say that there's not a space for this kind of stuff anymore because technology has moved so far past it. But I have some ideas of what could be done with something like this. So getting into those. First of all, part of me wonders if there's a way to, just out of curiosity, if I could make it work. The challenge of trying to make purely mechanical versions of this kind of thing, where by winding it up and hitting, a button in a certain direction, it shifts dials and moves a piece in a way that it can only move in certain other ways. Now, I could almost imagine it would be possible to do something like this in a purely mechanical way, but it would be crazy difficult and it would be really expensive. But it would be kind of fun to try to do. Okay, so moving past that point, I gotta say that this is essentially using the LCD standard shaped pieces as things move through those locations. It's sort of like when you type in a calculator, and it's going to become important here. When you type into a calculator 4 instead of 7, it's going to put that symbol in that location. So each time you move a character, it's just moving the digit to a new location. This is very similar to that, and I can't help but wonder if, since the display is essentially the same thing and the buttons are more limited, it strikes me as potentially possible to make these things like solar powered calculators. Do a very, very simplified gameplay style, screen background, and the internal guts that would tell it to move a piece instead of adding digits to it. I would bet you could make them run off of the little solar strips. You might have to put 4 in instead of 1 to get the power you need to run it, but I bet you could do it. And so then you would have a game system that never needs to be recharged. You don't have to get batteries for it. You can carry it around anywhere. It doesn't require reception. You do simple, fun little games. Solar powered, ready to go out of the box. I think it'd be interesting to try to incorporate sort of a playable, interactive element to sort of like children's stories. You got this stupid board books with all the little sound buttons off to the side that they've had forever. And I kind of find myself wondering if we are at a point where we could find a way to do little panels or strips of this and have the character able to move through parts of the story. Like if you did a children's book and it was like the character goes up, can you make him go up? And it's so they figure out, you press the up button and it moves the character up the page. Something like that could possibly be doable. I think this is where wearables in technology could come into play. I mean, we see a lot of these people like, let's make a light up cuff. Why? Why do you need to do that? In what way is that functionally useful other than a gimmick? Well, there's a part of me that says I would really, really enjoy like a clip-on tie that looks decent if somewhat plasticky. It doesn't have to look great. It uses e-ink instead of LCD and has in the top part all the components it needs to run it. And so I can just pick up my tie and play a game of, I don't know, Frogger on my tie. That would be so awesome. I would buy Frogger. I would buy maybe even like a Legend of Zelda or a race car game that I could wear as a tie and play sitting on the bus or doing something stupid, waiting for a doctor's appointment. I don't wear ties. I don't like them. But if I had a tie that was a game I could play, I would totally do that. It's sort of stupid, but I still like the idea. We're almost 30 years past the point where we have something like this. So I want to say that the majority of the components for the base unit can be done on thin strata, smaller, and I bet you with an e-ink screen you could make playing cards that would do this. Now, you'd probably have to have like a base unit with the buttons and a speaker or something like that to loop the little 6-bit audio noise that plays on games like this. But I would be willing to bet you could get a good portion of a game like that into a playing card, and you make them tradable. Tradable playing games, some simple little fun little bits, and just have the card just pop into a single base unit or clip onto the ends and play little LED, or not necessarily LED, but LCD screen type games on a flexible card base, and maybe do a series of games where there are new levels or something and you just collect the level pieces as trading cards. Okay, and the last one I kind of think would be fun to do is, I could see taking a unit like this and turning it into a role-playing game, like an RPG. You'd have like a basic icon for the player character, and you'd have, you know, reconfigurable digit pieces that would represent the terrain that they're moving through, and little markers, and then like a scroll, like a calculator screen kind of thing at the top and the bottom that, you know, types messages as you go, and it just, you know, hit the button, scroll, hit the button, scroll the message. And so I could see easily doing a game where you could play like a dungeon crawl or even a full-blown RPG game like that. The catch, I think, would have to be the ability to write your own levels, your custom levels, and have them like SD cards that you could pop in the side of like a unit, and it would load up all the text and all the terrain and all the scenarios that would happen in that, and it would just be a simple interactive screen, pop them in, and just like customizable RPG campaigns that you could do with people. And so like I could totally get into doing a game like that. I'd have to do some researches to see how much of that would be possible now that we have almost 30 years on this technology. All right. Well, so those are some of the ideas for this type of gameplay. I hope there's some ideas, and if anybody has any ideas on how to take that further or move it forward, let me know. I'm gonna see what I can find out in the meantime. And I'll see you for future video game content. So I guess in a month we'll find out what I do with it further. See you later.